Jay, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Sorry, I just said, yeah, as I was taking a drink.
So, Jay Swanson, you are a full-time video maker, content creator. Would you call yourself a vlogger?
I think the easiest thing is to call myself a YouTuber, because I feel like that, if you're an American, at least you assume then you do 10 different things.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I have to like try to explain what I do, and it turns into a long conversation that I don't know anybody really wants to have.
Which visa were you on before you became French?
So I was on the Passeport Talent.
Well, which one? Because there's like 10 subcategories.
No, I was on this thing. They didn't tell me anything when I got it.
Yeah.
So we were talking off camera for a second. That when I got it, I applied for the compétence talent.
Yeah.
And when I went in, I actually did the whole thing, the paperwork, but I knew that you couldn't find it on the consular website unless you Googled it, which is weird. That's a red flag. But I told the guy that, and he's like, no, Google it. And he's like, oh, he found it, copied it, pasted it into a Word document, and processed my visa based on that. And so, surprise, surprise, a couple weeks later, they're like, yeah, that visa doesn't exist anymore. But there's a new one they're developing in LA. We can kick your paperwork over there if you want, which is the single nicest moment in bureaucratic French history.
They can have a lot of lovely moments.
Wow.
I'm going to defend the French sometimes.
That was amazing. And so, anyways, they didn't tell me what it was. They didn't tell me anything about it. They didn't even tell me I got it. They just asked when would you like to come to France? So I gave them a tentative date that I'd had to. I was like, well, I'm going to run out of air miles if whatever. So picked a date, and my passport showed up with a visa in it. It just said Passeport Talent.
Okay.
And that was it. There was nobody told me how long it was good for, what I was legal to do. There was nothing, no constraints, nothing. When I crossed the border into France on that visa, the lady looked at me like I was trying to sneak in. Looked at it, she's like, what is this? And I was like, I don't know, that's what they gave me. And she just didn't buy it. So she just wrote everything down, and then literally looked at me and said, you're lucky you're American. Welcome to France. And stamped
We are lucky we're American.
Stamped me through on a tourist visa.
Okay.
And I spent a year going to the wrong office in the prefecture every 3 months until they finally figured out what to do with me.
Now that you've had it, now that you're now French, do you know which type was it? Because I
have no idea.
I think there's two possibilities. I think it's a Talent Passport International Renown or Talent Passport Artist.
I was probably the artist visa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they did a flaw on the talent.
I'm definitely not internationally renowned. Let's be honest.
This is really niche ball right now. Niche ball for visa stuff. Every category of Talent Passport mentions what subcategory it is.
We could look it up.
Except for international renown. They're like, oh no, just the Talent Passport. So it's there's one category that on the visa says just Talent Passport, and everything else is classified as which kind of account. But they also did not know what they were doing when they rolled it out, because they rolled out 10 new visa categories all at once, and they weren't
No, they had no idea what they were doing, and then they sent me to the wrong office. Like I said, they abused me for a year. It was so traumatizing. Not to scare anybody, but your experience won't be like this.
Please scare them, and then they know they need a lawyer to navigate this.
Get a French guy to go with you. I went completely by myself. I did talk to a lawyer once at the very end, because I was like, what is happening? And at that point, she was like, literally, you've done everything you can. You're doing everything right. There's nothing I can do for you. And I was like, okay. And then I went back in and it worked out. But yeah, I literally went in and I would sit in the prefecture for 8 hours, 9 hours. They'd call me up after 2 or 3 hours for a few minutes just to look at my documents, and then they'd sit down. And then they'd make me wait for 6 or 7 hours. I got very familiar with the little shopping mart inside the prefecture. Great deals. And then I would get called back up, and there was one point where there was a guy that I thought was my friend. It was this white French dude with huge thick glasses, and he just chilling around, a little bit of a comb over. But he smiled at me once. I was like, that's my guy. I sat down across from this massive black lady, just folded her arms, just stared at me for a solid 3 minutes before this guy came over. And I kid you not, just making me sweat bullets. The guy came over, and I was like, oh my God, thank God, he's gonna come save me. He leaned over and he just looked at me and said, we don't think you deserve to be here. I was like, oh, I am here. And so that's the treatment that I got for a year. And they just beat me. And I would just sweat and just be like, well, that's what they gave me. Well, I am here. And I kind of just held the line of I deserve to be here.
Yeah.
No matter what. I was like, nope, you're just the rubber stamp. I deserve to be here. Don't tell them that. But that was the attitude I had. And it carried me through.
And that's my mentality for the French is one of my friends calls it the no, yes process. You have to push past those first few no's. We sat on this cafe, I asked to film there because we filmed there last week, and he goes, Monsieur, c'est pas possible.
Right.
So we had to film here because whatever.
Yeah. But it is. And actually that's one of the, to speak highly of Nice, kind of in a backhanded way, they're way more hardcore about that. Like
that things are possible, or that there's a few more no's before the yes.
What's yours like 10 no's?
Okay.
Like you stand there, whether it's a bureaucrat or like somebody that's just like a security guard keeping you out of the store is closing, monsieur. And you're like, no, but I see people inside. No,
yeah, it's not yet the time to close on this.
No, it's closed. It's done. It's done. And you just stand there and you say, for long enough, and then eventually like, all right. And it's a game down there. So I think that prepped me for up here, where it's not a game here, but it is like the same kind of a test, where they're like, they just want to see you're serious. You know?
Yeah, it's the Irish no thank you. It's like, no, I couldn't possibly. No, I could never. Okay, yes, I accept.
Yeah.
That's how you get through. Why is it that you're here in Paris and not, for example, in Nice?
Yeah, Nice. I lived in Nice in 2007 and 2008. So I give Nice a hard time. And I get a hard time for it because I think it has changed a lot. However, when I was there, I lived on an Avenue de la Californie, which is one street in from the beach, basically. Yeah. And every night, like, it was just prostitutes everywhere. I saw like 3 or 4 different restaurants get burned out. I'm assuming by the mafia, but maybe for insurance claims. I don't know. Yeah. I woke up one night that there was a car in front of my apartment on fire, like 3 stories tall. I make it sound like bedlam. It wasn't like that all the time, but it was my first time out of the country, and there was just so many different shocks to it. And also, Nice, I feel like the Niçois are very closed generally. We talk about the Parisians being cold, but the Niçois are much more difficult to get to know.
I could see that.
And I just kind of I enjoyed it. My French improved. I made a real effort. It wasn't all bad, even though I gave it a hard time. But it wasn't for me. It also probably didn't help that I was broke, and it's a town for oligarchs. But whatever. So the Côte d'Azur wasn't really my vibe necessarily. And then I came back through Paris, and I was like, oh, this is what I always wanted.
I was aiming for.
And I'd had this pull to France my entire life, ever since I was a kid. No idea why. That's why I studied the language. That's why all those things. But I never pinned it to anything until I came here, and then I was like, I have to be here.
Let's unpack that. Why do we have this weird pull to France? What is pulling us here?
I don't, but I think for a lot of people, there's movies, there's culture, there's people, there's a whole category of Francophile that I don't fit into. That I came here and kind of discovered the things about it. Yeah. So I think for a lot of people, there's so many different reasons from the history, the architecture, the vibe, the food, the lifestyle, all these things. I think for me, it was I just wanted an escape, and France hit me as the place to go. I think it was castles. Yeah. It was maybe wine, but I didn't really care about wine until my 30s.
Right.
I think it was the adventure of a new place, a new language, and something romantic about it.
I think for me, it's the great other. We live basically in an English-speaking world, I would say. Mm-hmm. And English is very dominant. And if it's not English, what's the second most dominant language? Maybe in my book, that's French. And so, where is French spoken? In the land of the French. And so, if I was born on the French side, I moved to New York City, but I was born on the U.S. side, and it was this great other. What is the life on the other side of the coin like? Yeah. And it's this. A little bit colder and rainier.
Was that the draw for you? You feel like it was you wanted to explore something unknown?
I think so. I think it's that Marco Polo heart. You're kind of questing for what else is out there.
I like that.
Not just being content with what's right in front of you.
Yeah, I like that a lot. When I look back, my stuff is very much rooted in wanting to flee my home situation, where I came from. I think there's a lot of my emotional drive is that. I think a lot of people, not everybody, I think there are a lot of people that do end up here in a very healthy state. But my experience in living in West Africa, living here, so many expats in particular are running from something, and I definitely was running from something. And I think I was lucky that I found a home when I came here. I very much found my place, and I've been discovering it since then. But I remember looking back on when I was in probably high school, remember the Dos Equis commercials that came out? Yeah. The most interesting man in the world?
Yes.
And I was like, I want to have stories to tell. I want to be that guy. I want to be grizzled with white hair that didn't work out. Yeah. But I still have a white beard. But just leaning forward and being like, let me tell you that story about that time. I don't know. There was something about it where I was like, I'm not going to be that guy if I stay here.
Okay.
Let's go live a little bit of life.
All right, so Jay Dos Equis, tell us your craziest story in France.
My craziest story in France? I think we're at this place now where getting invited to the presidential palace.
Yeah.
Getting to meet, I think I'm at this place, I am living an interesting life in the terms of getting to meet these incredible artisans, these people whose names you would know, who invite me to see what they do, who take me under their wing, and having that feeling of honestly, one of the coolest things I think that I'll be the most proud of long term if I can be successful at it is if I can have a positive impact on Paris as a city.
That's nice.
If I can actually give something to this city so that when I die, they're like, well, we have to name a cul-de-sac after him or something, that idea that if you could give to the community that you live in to support local businesses or just the people around you. And I feel like I'm actually in a position where that might be the case in like 20 years.
I don't know if they'll give you a cul-de-sac. Maybe they'll give you a fountain.
I'd take a fountain.
Yeah.
As long as it's one that actually functions.
There's some street that I can't think of the name of, and like it says always like who the person was, and one of them was just like sculptor in the 19th century, and you're like, you're not naming any streets after sculptures in sculptors, people that sculpt.
Not today, no.
No, nowadays, no. So the standards are raised too high for you, unfortunately.
Okay, well, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna really try
Please
to raise
do
that
try.
bar, yeah.
What I like about your approach to things is that I think you and I have had a similar approach to things. Like, I want to do a whole series about what is it like to give birth in France and to raise kids in France and which is the best arrondissement. And then I scroll through your stuff and you've already kind of done a lot of these video topics.
I definitely don't know anything about giving birth in France.
Okay.
That's not true. I know some things, but I've not experienced it.
So you have recently ranked the arrondissements, and you live in the 16th.
I do live in the 16th, yeah.
And how did the 16th rank amongst your...
F tier.
And you've been there... You've been there for like 8 years, yeah?
Yeah, I've had that apartment since 2012. So, but I've lived there for since March of 2017. So yeah.
Can I interest you in moving?
Yeah, okay. You could interest me in moving. That's actually one of my goals for this year is to actually finally move.
Where should the viewer move to?
I mean, it depends on what the viewer likes. I think for me, this is the interesting thing about like making that video is I knew you're just going to offend people by sharing your opinions. The videos for me are just like, this is where I would like to live and why.
Yeah.
And so I know exactly where I would want to live. I have a developing heat map of where I'd want to live in Paris. And it's not limited to one neighborhood necessarily, but my prerequisites are to be close to friends.
Okay.
And to be able to step out into the street and be within a 5-minute walk of like a handful of things that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
That I can be a regular at, whether that's bars, coffee shops, restaurants. And again, friends. I think relationships are super, super important. And I have to commute an hour minimum just to see my friends right now. So those are the most important things to me. If like schools and like quiet residential life are the thing for you, then you should probably end up in the 15th or the 17th.
Yeah.
You know, if you're all about the beautiful like royal and second empire architecture, then you're going to want to end up like in the first, especially if you enjoy those strolls along the river. But if you like strolls along the river, you should probably move to the fourth. If we're being honest, it has the best section of the river. The islands are really quaint for that. I don't personally want to live on the islands because they're a little bit too quiet and again, just a little bit too far from what I like to do. However, they're really centrally located and a good 15-minute walk from like where we are right now. So I think it just depends on like what is it that you want to get out of your daily life. And for me, I think, okay, I'm stepping out of my front door. What do I have immediately in front of me? How do I never step foot on the metro if possible? And how do I never go anywhere near the 8th or any farther west ever again?
Now, do you not like the metro?
I love the metro, but like it gets to that point where it's like, it's just packed.
Yeah, I think there's I'm
obsessed with the metro. When I first got here, I was like, this is magical.
I think it's quaint.
The smell of line 6, I was like, this is a great, and now I'm like, it smells like BO, but you know.
Yeah. So I think that's an interesting way to unpack it. I've lived in the 19th, the 20th, the 10th, and then the 15th before moving out to the suburbs on the east side of France.
Yep.
Paris.
East side of France.
I know I always mix
the most Parisian way of phrasing that.
I always mix up Paris and France and France and Paris. And I agree. 15th is good for residential, for calm. 16th, I would also say, is residential and calm.
Yes, but the reason that 16th is F tier for me is the same reason that the 8th is F tier for me. It's the attitude.
Yeah.
Like people, like, oh my God, like just crossing the 16th and the 8th in particular, I get just angry on my bike. It's just miserable. So there's the 15th is really quaint and like very family oriented. The 17th is like this up and coming, like there's a little bit more money, but also a lot of really interesting things happening like around Batignolles and better food, better coffee, whatever. The 16th is just like reluctant to do anything fun. They all have their cars. They want to leave on the weekend. Yeah. And then generally like all the service staff I know that work in the 16th, hate it because they get treated so badly. And you see that like there are some wonderful people that I've met thanks to my dog, and now that there is good coffee, and you know, like they brought out some of the coffee shop people. But I guess in my experience living there, somebody called me out for this, and he was like, "It just sounds like you don't feel like you belong there, and maybe blah blah." And I was like, "Of course, yeah, I don't feel like I belong there. Why would I want to live somewhere I don't feel like I belong?" So, if you are really really wealthy and you actually don't really want to be in Paris, you would fit in. Yeah, or if you're really wealthy and don't want to be in Paris, there's plenty of lovely suburbs. Saint-Germain-en-Laye, Saint-Cloud, Neuilly-sur-Seine, the list could go on. Absolutely, yeah.
What my strategy was I was in the 15th along the line 13, and I did not like the line 13. I found it very circuitous. It was very circuitous, and I said to myself, if and this is basically our approach for our office. Let's be in the middle of Paris. No one wants to be on the edges of Paris. And let's say you've got a friend and the friend's in the 15th, and another friend is in the 16th, another friend is in the 8th or whatever.
Yep.
Or 8th, not, I was trying to do 12th.
Nobody has friends in the 8th.
That you could hop on your bike, and if you're in the middle of Paris, you could go out, in the middle of Paris, I said that right, you could go out to your friends and be like 15 minutes away from everyone, right. Versus if you're in the 15th and your friends are in the 19th, that's a trek, that's a schlep.
A huge trek. It's ironic because the 16th to the 15th can take forever.
Yeah.
Like there are just certain areas that you have to, it's almost like traveling through France where you have to get to Paris to come back down.
Exactly.
And the city can be like that. And I think that there's so many wonderful places to live. I also would like to highlight what I said before too, which is that I'm just so lucky to live here at all. That's why I'm still glad to be in the 16th. Like,
yeah.
As much as I give the 16th, can I say the word shit on the podcast?
Sure, why not?
As much as I give the 16th shit, I'm so grateful to be there. It is beautiful, it is quiet, and there are some very lovely people around still. It's just so far away, and there really isn't anything that I enjoy.
I tell you what, I had always thought before I moved here that the only two ways moving to France was you got to marry a Frenchie that wants to bring you into France,
yep.
Or that you get a U.S. job that has an entity in France and you get seconded over here to France.
Yep.
And so like when you're phrased about saying, I just feel so lucky, so blessed to be living here in France, yeah. I kind of feel like that's a really good attitude to have with regards to anyone that's moving here to France, because A, it is doable, B, there's probably a visa for you, and then once you're here, you can appreciate that. It's not just be married to Frenchie or find the right job. There's so many doors to get into France.
I don't want to argue against marrying a Frenchie, but I think it's that thing of like, I am very much, regardless of who you are, where you come from, I feel so much like if you can make your own way, you can stand on your own 2 feet.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you have to use somebody else to get into I would imagine you've seen this play out much more up close than I have, but I know a lot of stories of people that like fell in love, got the visa, and then found themselves really isolated, and it leads to some real tension in relationships. And so it's kind of the same thing of like, you should earn your own money, you should also make your own way if you can.
Great point. I usually tell people there's like a plan A, B, or C for how do you move to France. And I usually have the couple of the relationship be the plan C. Like if you can't make it as a baker, and if you can't get into that master's program,
right.
Well then maybe we'll consider a Pax or marriage to get you into France. Because people don't want to put pressure on their relationship to be the grounds of their visa
Even
into
if
France.
You're faking it. Like I know people that have done the like we're totally together but they're not situation, and it still can ruin friendships. Like I don't know. I think it's risky personally.
Yeah, no, and as everyone's lawyer, I don't recommend doing that. I recommend having real legitimate relationships.
Yeah, and then if you fall in love with a Frenchie, great. Then that's perfect.
And the other side of it too is like, let's just assume that it is a real legitimate relationship. A lot of relationships end, and then once you're ending, and if you're on the talent passport family and the other spouse is the primary spouse, what's your next status? What are you going on to? So if one can be on one's own 2 feet moving here to France,
which is very hard. So I also know that that's like setting a very, very high bar that maybe it feels impossible to cross, or like you've tried and it's been. So I don't want to make it like you have to do it that way. I would just argue for that. It's kind of the same thing, like, you know, a mom telling her daughter to earn her own money and not rely on a man. I feel like in the same way, like if you're gonna move to a foreign country, if you're relying on somebody for your friends, for your like also your social connections, your financial stability, your housing, all those things, you're putting all your eggs in one basket.
The counter side to that is that it can be really hard to befriend the French. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Be, yeah.
But that if you marry into a French family, well, you get gifted a package. Like here is a whole set of in-laws that will talk with you. Here's a whole set of close friends from high school that will adopt you into the circle. Now you don't get to pick the circle, so it's like whether you like that circle or not, it might be outside your control.
You can pick your friends, but you can't pick your friend's nose. Is that the
exactly?
Like, I think it's that thing of. The French, yes. So France is a very low trust society, right? So it's very much like it is on the scale of like social. I forget what the term for that is, but we can all look it up later. But the idea is that they're very, very like located or centralized around a small unit. So like a family unit, and then a little bit of school friends, and then some university friends, and then work friends. But they're not concentric circles. It's not even a Venn diagram. They keep those circles very separate.
Do you have French friends? Yeah, no, I do have French friends. I've gone through different like iterations of friendship as a whole, and I think that like now my closest friends are all people that have either they're French people that have lived abroad or they're internationals that have naturalized here.
Yeah,
I think that there's just a level of I'm an immigrant, like I'm not an expat, you know.
Yeah.
Right? So like I'm not going home after this.
No,
this is
home.
And so that's a complete mentality shift, I feel like, as far as like relating to people, which makes it hard to still be like at the same level of intimacy with my older French friends, maybe, who I maintain contact with and I see from time to time. but we don't share the same lifestyle or values or so forth. And it's the same thing. Like if I were to move back to America tomorrow, I find it really hard.
I think to be friends with Americans who never left.
Yeah.
In the same way. Probably be a little bit easier because Americans are more open.
Yeah.
And I think it is easier to make. I know that Europeans can struggle making French friends, or can struggle making American friends because they're like, oh, they're so superficial, whatever. But on the flip side, yeah, it is like the challenge of making friends here is real.
I got a lot to ricochet off of that for. What was I going to say? I mean, I guess my first pushback is that I've always liked to contest the fact that we're superficial. I don't think that we're superficial.
I don't think we are either.
I think we actually do want to hang out with you next weekend. Like, we do want to be your friend.
Yep.
And I think that gets misinterpreted because the French, as you said, are low trust society.
I think it depends on the person, but I also think that like it's the same thing where it's like we all want friends and relationships. It's just that the French, because people say it takes like 6 months to become friends with a French person.
Yeah.
It takes 6 months of like cracking the nut
egg,
and then you're in, right?
Yeah.
With Americans, it still also takes 6 months.
Okay.
But it's 6 months of like chattiness and like coffees and whatever. Like just because you had coffee with an American 4 times doesn't mean that you're their best friend. You know
Not their best friend for sure. Hopefully they're a friend.
Hopefully
if you
you're a friend, yeah.
Well,
but I do think it takes time for that to develop universally. Maybe it's faster for Americans.
No, I'll give you, it's like mastery on a guitar, mastery on a piano. The learning curve is, it's easy to start, tinkling the ivories. It's hard to become a master pianist.
Yeah.
On guitar, it's a little bit harder to learn how to play a G chord, but then once you've gotten the hang of that kind of stuff, it's easier to get chords good.
And it's a challenge either way.
You're really good at food. You're knowledgeable about this. You have products, right? You have like a tour guide. I
have a guide, yeah.
Okay, tell me about that.
So in like 2018, I actually just made a video about this. I was getting asked so much, like, where was that place that you had coffee? Where was that thing you ate? Whatever. And I was trying to answer, but I was also starting to freak out a little bit. So I was like, you know what? Like, why don't I bundle this all into a PDF? I can sell you all my recommendations, like all these places I'm finding. And then of course I undervalued that. So then I wrote like, thousands and thousands of words of essays to like pad it to be like, this is how you do everything in Paris, and started selling it. And it's just turned into, now it's like an app online, and you can buy access. I shouldn't call it an app, but my guide, you can buy it. It's an online access, so we can update it all the time. It has a map. It's great.
Okay, what's it called?
Paris in my pocket.
Paris in my pocket.
Yeah.
Great.
You can put Paris in your pocket.
And in terms then of food culture, if you had to pick one food that Paris is best at, like Korean food or what have you.
Oh, what non-French food?
One non-French food that Paris is the best at.
Actually, I think that Paris has a real contender. This is gonna draw some comments, I'm sure. I think Paris is starting to make a real comeback for coffee.
Coffee, like
I think coffee
like quality
is
coffee
really
shop.
strong. I think that there's a lot of really good and interesting coffee happening here. It's getting washed out a little bit with like the specialty coffee. It's kind of like when French tacos came around,
like the French taco's not real.
Or they'll put smash burger on a menu and it's just a cheeseburger, whatever. Like
what was smash about
There's
this?
an element of like marketing that goes into naming these things, so don't necessarily trust a place that calls itself specialty coffee. But there's so many good roasters here, so like operating at such a high level, really great quality. Like, I go back to the States and I'm actually sometimes disappointed now. I'm like, wait, come on, guys.
Wow.
So like I feel like they were slow in coming. It's not all great, and the stuff that's good is really good.
All right,
because I ordered an allongé and that was like a latte. I mean, I'm just saying.
Let's do rapid fire, okay? What is best ofs? All right, ready? What is the best park in Paris?
Bouchermont.
Okay. What is the best cafe?
KB.
Okay.
I'm gonna get so much trouble.
Best bar?
For what?
Drinking, alcohol.
Liquidary.
Okay. I don't know that one.
Okay.
Restaurant.
Ubats.
Okay. What's the best kept secret of Paris?
Can't tell you.
That's why it's
Wouldn't be
secret.
very well kept if I did.
But isn't that kind of our business? Is like spilling the good secrets?
Spilling the beans. Yeah, actually, I don't believe in gatekeeping. I think that what's a good? I will confess. The reason I respond not tersely, I wasn't terse, but you know what I mean.
Secretively.
Nonchalantly, is because I don't know what's a secret anymore. Because I feel like I've shared everything so much that I'm just like, what is a secret? What is something that people don't actually know about Paris? And then I remember, people don't. There's a lot. If you're first coming here.
If people don't know about the Petite Ceinture, people don't know about like les galeries or like les passages.
Passages are nice.
Like different streets, Rue Crémieux. Like there's like a lot of things people don't quite know.
Crémieux, like it's funny because I feel like Rue Crémieux. We went there recently to like do a little thing on it because I do think it's fun and it's cute, but it's just like
it's cute for 2 minutes.
Exactly, and it's a long ways away. It's a secret worth keeping. It's good. The Chemin Vert is really, the Coulée Verte is really cool.
Yeah.
There are a million things. I would say honestly, La Villette is probably the best kept secret.
Yeah.
It came up so much, especially with a family. I did a video on Paris for kids, which bombed because my audience does not have kids.
Oh my gosh, I think that needs to be hyped up to that kind of theme because there's people travel to Paris with their family and they don't know what to do with them because Paris is not that kid friendly.
It's a great video. I'm very proud of it. I went and I talked to 5 different families and all of them brought up La Villette.
Okay.
So there's like the dragon park with this huge dragon your kids can slide down the tongue. Super cool. They've got like, you can do skydiving, bowling, movies. There's a food court. There's Cité de la Science. So it's a really cool interactive science museum that you can go and do all kinds of fun things with activities from kids that are like 1 year old all the way up to teenagers. Interactive like video game type things. It's an huge outdoor park. They do outdoor movies in the summer. There's so much going on up there. There's the Philharmonic, which is up there. There's
just really cool looking.
The Zenith, if you want to go to the biggest show, like the place to go to the biggest shows in Paris. So yeah, it's pretty. It's a long ways away from most people, but you're on the upper end of the canal. You can rent a boat. You go to Pan Am Brewing Company if you want some beer, or La Talente has some great beer down there too. Some good Japanese food around, some really terrible French food, but on a boat. Not going to say the name of it now that I said terrible, but there's a lot of really good stuff up on the upper canal.
Can I ask you can I get you in trouble once?
How many times have I already got myself in trouble is the question.
What's the most overhyped restaurant in Paris?
Overhyped restaurant in Paris? I mean, this place is pretty, I'm just kidding. I
know you're not a fan.
No, I can't. Now,
you just have high standards. It's fine. It's fine.
Overhyped restaurant? I think, honestly, as a trend right now, pizza by the slice is like they're trying to have a moment and everybody's failing. Except for Rory. Rory does it really, really well. I know that's not really... So let's say Jay's Pizza, let's pick on them because they used my name. Like we went and we tried it and it was just bland. Like,
okay.
There's no respect for pizza. What the heck?
Well, I don't necessarily think of Paris for pizza.
No.
Like amongst all the things that I think of.
So what's the most overrated thing that people do think of when they come here? Overhyped? What's hyped though?
I don't know, things that are internationally known. I mean, I'll say it this way. The 2 cafes that they always go to, Les Deux Magots, and Café, what is the next one next to it?
Café Flore.
I was going to say Café Florentin, which is nothing like that. No, Café de Flore.
You know what though, they're really nice. I would say that I do pick on Café de Flore because it is the most expensive croissant coffee you're going to get while you're in Paris.
I can believe that.
It's absurdly expensive, and it's, why are you going there is the question. Like, I think if you're going there for your photo and you're going there for the experience because you've heard about it and you want to have that experience, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I just think that like if you want a great croissant, you can do better for way cheaper. If you want good coffee, you can do way better for cheaper. But the service is really nice. The people that work there, I've been there a couple times to film. Okay, second time I went there, actually the guy made us wait 23 minutes to order. So aside from that guy, they're really nice.
Yeah. Now sometimes things that can be incredibly touristy can also be actually really authentic. Like I've walked past Café Les Deux Magots, and I've seen Vincent Lindon, the French actor, twice sitting in there.
There you go.
Like having so like the other thing that's another nice well-kept secret is Le Lapin à Gilles, the cabaret that's not a sexy cabaret en Montmartre. It's like an authentic 1850s feel.
I haven't done that one yet.
Highly recommend it. For people that can speak good French, it's really cool.
Okay,
and it's like a mixture of like Chinese tourists who don't speak French who leave after an hour, and people that are super into la chanson française.
Okay, I gotta try. I do need to try that. I remember seeing it years ago and be like, what is this? And then I looked it up and I was like, that's cool. And I've never been.
That's cool. Well, maybe we can make a second trip for that.
Let's do it.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.